Hello, everybody. Here's Natasha from the Feminine Space podcast, and welcome to the fourth episode of the Discovering and Living Your Life Purpose series. Today, we have a beautiful guest all the way from Singapore, and I'm so happy to have her here, not only because of the wide variety of life experiences that she has, but also to bring some Asian blood into the mix and let this podcast be a big part of perspectives from all over the world and from women of all cultures and ages too. So Adeline Heng, our guest for today, she's a women's empowerment catalyst, a speaker, entrepreneur, author, and most importantly, she helps women to find their life purpose, which this podcast and why we're here gathering together. It's for that very reason. It's for you, and she does that work to help you find that. So welcome,
Yeah.
Adeline.
Hi, Natasha. Thanks for having me on. And it's really indeed a privilege to be here with you on this very meaningful show. And looking forward to, our exchange of views and all that.
You know, when I read your bio, I'm really
Yeah.
impressed because speaking is one skill, writing is one skill, coaching or helping people find their purpose and finding that clarity, that's another skill. And creating your own business, that's another whole animal in
Oh,
itself.
wow.
So it really sounds like you've brought together a quite different mix into your career. So tell me a bit about how that came to be, because some people are just speakers, some people are just writers. So how come you were able to
Hmm.
combine this mix together and to spread the message that you have today?
Well, in the first place, I let me see where I should start answering your question. Um, let's just say when I signed up to write the book, it wasn't just to, write a book and that's it. In the words of my publisher, the book is just a name card on steroids. Yes. So, and with that, very naturally, we would go into speaking and coaching. So, teaching people what we have learned, what we've written about in a program to empower them to change their lives. Yes. And essentially, I was like any other person, ordinary person. I was at a job and feeling very, very unfulfilled and very unhappy. And thanks to a group of people that I met probably about 5 years ago, and they gave me a new perspective to life because most of them at that time they were at least 50 years old, and they were so full of life, so full of zest, and they have a life purpose, and that's to empower other people. And that inspired me so much, and I started my self-discovery journey. And what I like to say right now at this point in my life, I'm actually on maybe how do you say that, self-discovery 3.0.
Mm-hmm.
So my book was the 1.0 stage, and then developing a program to help women to reshape women. That was my 2.0. And now I'm into 3.0, which is to really look into people's, helping people with their mindset and eventually helping them discover who they are and what is it that they are here to do.
Mm.
Mm.
You bring a really good point, because sometimes when we feel like we're at crossroads, it seems like, oh, there's just one decision I have to make, and then that's it, and then everything will be okay. But as you say, it's a constant evolution. There's the first stage
Oh,
and then the
yes.
second one, and it's going to be constant. So whatever skill you have to come into alignment with yourself and actually listen to
Yeah.
what is it that I want, you can practice that throughout your whole life, and it's going to keep changing, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. And today I just heard um, this video a guru was sharing. It is really about asking ourselves good questions from different perspective, because he was talking about the difference between having, what do you call that, having, no, I forgot what was he comparing with, but he was talking about life visioning what your life will be, and by asking yourself a question, for example, like, who do I need to become? And when you ask such questions, because I've asked myself that question before, who do I need to become to, then the end result, right? And I discovered a whole new perspective, and that kind of helped me a little in, along the way. And of course, these things don't come just like that. It comes with firstly a decision that, we want our life to count for something. I'm not just here taking up space, but I do have, uh, then what am I here for?
Yeah.
So as Brandon Burchard said, right, did I live? Did I did I love, and did I matter? So
Mm.
these are all valid questions, and for one, for me, before I was enlightened, I was really afraid of, or rather, I did not want to broach the subject about legacy. I don't even want to answer the question, what would people say at my eulogy, because it sounded morbid and I really didn't want to know. And to me, it doesn't make a difference because I'm not there to hear.
Mm.
But increasingly, I think um, it's something that we need to think about. And because when we start thinking about that question, we start questioning ourselves about, really, what kind of life are we living? Yeah.
Mm. Those are really beautiful questions. And I can just almost imagine people who are listening, or women who are listening.
Mm-hmm.
These are not easy questions. These are questions that you
No.
ask and you get an answer, and it's real, it's the truth, and you have to face it. And I think just knowing your work, that's a really big piece in it, isn't it? To come to peace with, okay, I am actually here, or okay, however many years of my life it didn't feel meaningful, or
Mm.
yes, I've gained this many skills, but it's not where I want to be. So in your work, or even for yourself, when people have that kind of realization, or when they start asking these questions, it's uncomfortable. So
Mm-hmm.
how did you deal with that, or how did you get from that discomfort to actual action, or direction, or motivation to,
Mm.
do something positive,
Good question. I think back in, I suppose I was first exposed to self development, maybe even as early as 10 years ago, 2007, where well, the outcome of that journey was I made a decision to be positive. When you look at a cup, it can be half full or half empty, right? So from that point onwards, I decided I'll just see things in the positive in a positive way. So it will always be half full, and that was the beginning. And but of course, after that, I became very much, you know, like how a lot of people would behave. Why does this always happen to me? Life happens to me. So I was a victim. And right up to the point where I left my job in 2015, January of 2015, I was very much thinking about that. Why does this always happen to me? Why am I always being victimized? Why am I always, why do bad things just happen to me? So, of course, at this point, I realized that that was a totally wrong, uh, not, okay, not wrong, but it's not a good place to be, but it's a start, right? And making a decision to snap out of it, get out of that rut, and begin searching. And that was, I think, one of the best things I did for myself. And I have asked women whether, do you love yourself? A lot of them say, well, of course I do. I love myself. But looking at the things that they do to themselves, for example, I'm not judging, but they smoke, they do, just things that are contrary to, if you love yourself, you will not do that to yourself. So I think people have got fear also about loving themselves. Maybe to a certain extent is guilt. That loving ourselves means that you are a narcissist. and I think for a large part, for even our Asian culture, love is not very much spoken of, right? I'm sure you being Asian as well, you might have also experienced some of that. Yeah, and that's has a lot to do with our culture as well. Yeah.
Yeah, you touch on many points there. I want to ask you something which I actually haven't asked our other guests so far. And I'm just looking at the notes I took, like your title of Women's Empowerment Catalyst. What does it really mean for a woman to be empowered? How do you envision women to be in an ideal world with all the work that you do? Say every woman on this planet is touched by what you do. What happens then? What is that change?
Well, for one, they will not be guilty about loving themselves. And as well as not guilty about taking care of themselves first. Because we have to fill our own cup before we can fill another's cup, right? And too many women I know are just so concerned about their families, everyone else except themselves. And so this is one of the first things I want to teach my clients as well, that it's okay to love yourself first. Because if you don't take care of yourself and you're so selfless, right? You're so selfless, taking care of everyone else. What happens if you fall, if you become ill or what, Who's going to take care of all this? Well, was also people are looking for questions, are looking for answers, but they have no idea what's the question. And therefore, even if the answer comes up, they won't know that that's the answer, because you are not consciously aware of certain, of whatever is it that you are looking for, right? So it will not come into your consciousness. And so this is very important for a lot of women, that they need to be conscious of.
So that what they experience and what their intuition is showing them the dotted line, it can actually connect to bring them something greater than just pieces of insight or just certain visions or thoughts.
Well, it's really having clarity about what they want. If you don't know what you want, even if that thing, that whatever it is comes, it can be right in front of you, but you won't even see it because you're not conscious of it, right?
Yeah, I mean, it sounds really simple when you spell it out like that, but sometimes the human experience is very emotional. It can be very turbulent, and
that's right.
But at the end of the day, when we do break it down, it is as simple as you describe it. And I try to communicate it in a very similar way, in that, yeah, the answers you're looking for, they're all inside of yourself. And as simple and as cliche sounding as they are, it's the thinking, it's the emotional experience, it's like the completely human component of it that makes it seem so impossible, or so it seems so difficult. So I'm
Yes.
really happy
Yeah.
to meet you, exactly where you are, and be like, yeah, we this is where it all comes from. But at the same time, we do feel totally compassionate, and we understand that this process isn't easy, and sometimes it is tough.
Hmm. That's right, and that's why it's important to have a mentor or a coach to be there to guide. Because a lot of times, I think some people, or many people, myself included, at one point when I was trying to search for things, right? So I just watch all the YouTube videos, and basically I was like headless chicken, just going around and around chasing my own tail. And I wasn't getting any closer to where I want to be. And then I started meeting people who have a genuine interest in you know helping me become a better version of myself. And that was when I realized that, oh, I was so unconscious to what is it that I was looking for, that even when the answer came, the door was open, I didn't enter, you know
Mm-hmm.
so yeah. And it's really a lot of learning, that sometimes, I've ever had this. I had a meditation, I did meditation, and then I saw this vision of like this big house mansion with many rooms, but I could only see a few doors, right? And and you know every room that I enter, I spend time in it. And after after that, after I got tired of it, I came out, looked for another room and all that. But actually within each room there's another door that can lead you further. But because I was not conscious, I didn't see the door. And so I kept searching room after room after room. Yeah. So this kind of gave me the vision of like, that's how I have been spending my life, searching and searching at all, looking at all the wrong places, or didn't look long enough, or was not conscious of this other door that I could have opened, and could have been, I don't know, could have been a shortcut.
Yeah. Absolutely. It's like that thing we've been looking for, but then we just don't see it. So do you have any last words for anyone listening who is at that point, and they're like, oh my goodness, I just wish I could know the answer now. I wish I have the clarity or the direction now. How can
Mm.
I see that door? What would be your words for someone in that situation?
I well, what I can say is that have faith that um, there's really this door that will open, if you are prepared to, for all the changes that may bring. First, we must decide that, yeah, I'm ready to open this door, and you know courageously open and step in and find out. And of course, it's also, for me, I would have loved, 20 years ago, to have found this mentor to help me, to, show me the way. But I couldn't find any until now. So now I'm very grateful to all the people who have influenced me, helped me along the way to learn about myself, and also about how to help others to become better versions of themselves. So really, to to have faith, and to accept help when your mentor appears, when the teacher appears.
That's so key. It's such a woman's issue to do it all and to feel like we have to figure it all out on our own. And
That's right.
And your story, what you do, what I do, this whole podcast, everyone who's coming on, being interviewed, it just shows that none of us really made it on our own. Even though sometimes it might feel really lonely and difficult and seemingly like you're the only one on your way, we're all doing this together, just on our own path. So Adeline, I would really love to give you the opportunity now to share with the audience how can they get in touch with you to get to know more about your work, your book, any events that are coming up.
Okay, that's great. You can find me on at my website. That's www.adelineheng.com. That's ADELINEHENG.com. You can also find me on Facebook. My business page is Adeline Heng 67. So, or you can find me on Instagram as well. Just that I have not been so active recently on Instagram. I just need to get back to it. And yes, for all of you who are listening in, I do have a gift for you. It's a cheat sheet that I'm sharing with you, the top 7 life hacks for emotional wellness. So if you send me an email at info at adelineheng.com, I will send you that cheat sheet right away.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for that gift and for everything that you did. If any of you have missed the website, the Facebook link, or the email, you can get all of that and the overview of all the contact information over at the show notes. That's femininespace.com/Adeline, which is ADELINE. And over there, you can get all the information and then just reach out to Adeline at your own time and find out the best way to follow or to get more resources from our beautiful guest. So thank you so much for coming on again, for doing the work that you do, for being who you are, and just following that path, no matter how much you've been through and how many times you evolved, you stay true to that growth. So that's beautiful to see. It's just because someone doesn't mean that okay, that's it. It just keeps on going, and it's so wonderful to see you at stage 3, 3.0. So thank you again for coming on.
Thanks so much for the opportunity, Natasha. And as I always say, age is just a number. The rest are all excuses. So, ladies, just go live your life and be who you are really meant to be. And because we all have that gem, that light, that splendor within us that's just waiting for us to shine. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And no one else can do it except for you. So thanks everybody for listening, and I'll talk to you next week. Bye.